Thank you so much, Lina, and thank you for having me here. Welcome to this workshop. I'm very happy to be holding it today. And thank you, actually, Lina, for a little introduction. I also have a slide about that where I wanted to share just briefly, about who am I and why am I here. So, as Lina mentioned, I've been with NASDAQ for 4 years already. But I have more than actually 11 years of experience in the HR field altogether. And I really enjoy what I do. I do hold 2 degrees, one bachelor degree from ISM University in Vilnius, and I just recently finished my MBA studies in Spain. And I do live in Spain as well. And there is one photo actually from the location, from the area where I live in, just for you to give an idea that I do live in the north of Spain, not in the south with a lot of beaches, but in the north and beautiful nature. So yeah, I've been living there for 3 years now. And the second photo is from the actually career fair at Vilnius University that happened last year. And I participated there as well. So maybe we've met actually last year with you at Vilnius University. And the last photo is of me being in the New York headquarters at NASDAQ when the bell ceremony happened for the Packard company. So it was a very memorable moment for me in my career, where I had a chance with NASDAQ actually to have this amazing business trip to travel to New York. Yeah, and I leave my LinkedIn profile with you as well. If somebody would like to connect later, you feel free to do that. So, okay, enough about me. Let's talk about the job interview. Job interview is probably my most favorite part of all of the recruitment process. Because in this part of the recruitment process, you have an opportunity to meet so many different people with so many different backgrounds. You can actually enrich your personal world so much in this process. As a recruiter and also as a candidate, I think it's also for to be a candidate in the job interview process is also so interesting because you can learn a lot about yourself while preparing for the interview. You can learn a lot about the company and actually feel great with the achievements that you do along the way. So firstly, I would like to start by probably just asking everyone in this room, have you ever been to an interview before? Have anyone been to an interview before in this group? We will have question in the chat, and if you could just respond by leaving a little note. I think you can leave a reaction. Yes. Thumbs up to the no, or thumbs up where the yes is. Okay, you can just type it in. Also fine. Just fine. Yeah. You see quite a lot of yeses, some no's. Fantastic. Oh, I'm so happy to see that actually quite a lot of you already have some experience, but as well excited to see that somebody maybe don't have that much experience. And that's really great to see this dynamic. So what I want to say that even though you had interviews before in your life, I hope that after today's presentation, everyone will have something meaningful to take home with you, and just to to learn something from today's presentation. Sorry, I just have to. Oh, sorry. To get back to sharing. Yes. So what's important is that if you got into the stage to go into the job interview, you have to congratulate yourself. It's great. You already made it through the first screening stage where your CV was screened. Perhaps your CV was great. You did an amazing job presenting your experiences and your qualifications. So it's already a win and you already have to be proud of yourself. But now it's an interesting part where you have to prepare for this journey of the interview. So there are main general tips of what you actually have to do before any job interview. And it's really important, of course, some of these tips could be very, known to you already, but just we will go through some of them very quickly in more details, but I think most important tip for me is research and talking about the very relevant experience. So these are really, really important tips, but all of them, I think, even dressing appropriately, it is still very relevant. And by dressing appropriately, I not necessarily mean that you have to go with a suit to the job interview, but you have to present yourself in the way that you want to be perceived in that company. So yeah, let's move on to the research. I think research is the first most important step that you have to take when preparing to the job interview, because you have to know where you're going and who are you going to talk to. As an example, any company has their web page. So very easily, there are 3 screenshots from our NASDAQ page, where are 3 main parts to observe, actually. It's an about section, like a very brief statement of what company is actually doing. It's a news section, the latest news section, what the company is going through at the moment. So you would be aware in which environment you're coming to. And then the people section. I would say it's very important to check the company values, just because it is important to understand if company values actually are aligning with your own values, because you will be working there and you want to be respected and, and just feel heard and grow with that company. So you have to know that part as well, very, very well. And as an example, as well from NASDAQ, when I was preparing for this workshop, I realized that there is some information about NASDAQ that is not so easily found. So I wanted to share that with you in case you would be going to an interview at NASDAQ one day. So first information is that NASDAQ actually is the company of firsts. My most favorite part probably is number 4, that we do have a female president and CEO, and she is the first major US stock exchange person, like a female president. And it's a very, very powerful and encouraging message, I think, in terms of diversity in this company. And of course, it's the world's first electronic stock exchange market. Also, just for you to know, NASDAQ has offices in so many locations. And at the moment, it's increasing the number of the locations in the world, because we just recently acquired a new company, Adenza, a tech company, and currently NASDAQ globally has around 9,000 employees. And one of the biggest locations in the world is actually the Vilnius office that holds more than 500 employees at the moment. And briefly, these are some of the companies that are actually our partners at NASDAQ, because these are just a few very well-known companies that are listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange. And we are very proud of seeing them every year, delivering results and collaborating. Actually, working at NASDAQ feels like you are a little part of each and every of these companies, which is super, super great. So yeah, that's a little additional research that I'm sharing with you that is not so easily accessible on our website, but this is an example of what you can do actually when you prepare for a job interview. And yeah, maybe enough about NASDAQ now. Let's move to the ChatGPT question. And it's obviously everyone probably is familiar with what it is. It is an artificial intelligence support tool that can help you prepare for anything, actually. I'm not suggesting that you should use this tool to, I don't know, falsify some test results or something, but to use it as a support tool for you to prepare, for example, to use it for research, it's amazing. And I'm using it personally all the time. It really gives some great ideas if you are just stuck in the process and you don't know what to do. So it's really, really helpful. And I just listed several questions here that you can actually type in the program, and it gives you very good answers. So for example, when you're doing a research, you can just type what are the best ways to research for a job interview, and it gives you very, very good tips on what you can do to do the research. And what should I research in preparation for my job interview? If you are adding specific job title actually that you're interviewing for, it gives really, really good results as well. And my favorite part is about identifying the questions, because ChatGPT can give you question suggestions on what you may be asked during the interview, so you can prepare in advance. And vice versa, if you ask ChatGPT those questions that actually ChatGPT provided to you, you can receive responses. If you cannot think of responses yourself, ChatGPT can help you to prepare with already provided responses. But as I said, this is mostly the tool to support you, not to work like completely for you in job interview sense. And the planning approach as well, you can use ChatGPT for that. I really liked probably the latest question that I've placed in my presentation, that in an interview, how can I show I'm the best candidate for data analyst role, for example. And ChatGPT gives you a very, very nice suggestion as well with the approach. What can you do to present yourself as the best candidate? So yeah, I think it's a very powerful tool, and I would definitely recommend to put it to work when you're preparing for your interviews. And yeah, let's move on to interview types. There are many different types, but these are the most general ones that you can expect when you go into the interview. It's a phone, video, and in person. Normally, phone interview is a very short screening call. Video call is a little bit longer. And some companies have only video calls. They don't even hold in-person interviews anymore. But if you actually ask for it, you can and the company requires, you can be invited for an in-person interview as well, which is actually great. And I definitely recommend you to do it if that's an option for you, because this way you can learn a little bit more about the culture, the company, how the office feels like for you, how those people feel like in person when you meet, because these days, a lot of companies are offering the hybrid work environment where you don't have to go into the office all the time. But in the early days of your career, it is, I think, so important to feel that presence. So in-person interview, I feel it's very beneficial for you I haven't mentioned that, but actually job interview, it's not only an interview for the company to interview you, it's the interview also for you to interview the company and ask questions and also see if that's a possible fit for you as well. So, but we'll go into a little bit more details about that later. And just a little bit more about the phone interview. As I mentioned, it's very short. Normally, you have to be actually extremely prepared for that because normally it's a recruiter who will be calling you to get like the main basic like fit requirements to see if you are actually motivated enough for this role. You actually understand what this role is about. Do you actually feel that you could perform in this position? And it's normally very, very quick questions. And most importantly for you, not to talk too much during this interview. Have short, good answers, because there may be, if you will not happen to answer all the questions in time, you may lose an opportunity. So you need to not to talk too much, but talk the appropriate amount just to share what is actually being asked of you in that question. And of course, that's the part when you talk to the recruiter, to be prepared with the salary expectations, what you actually expect. And it is a very difficult question at the beginning in your career. In Lithuania, it's a little bit easier these days because every job description normally has the salary ranges. So make sure that you check that before you have the interview. So you would be prepared to say that, let's say, the salary range is okay with my expectations, or I am more expecting to get something on the higher salary range side, or maybe you have a specific amount that definitely motivates you for that position. Whatever it is, be prepared in advance and do not hesitate too much. It's okay for you to say the specific amount and mention that you are open for negotiations if needed in the future. That is totally fine, but it is very respectable when a person actually does the financial research in the market and knows what he or she wants from the company, from this position. And during the phone interview, it is very, very recommended for you as a candidate to ask what are the next steps? When can you expect to receive your feedback? When can you expect to receive, the following interview invitation, and so on. And you can also ask what is actually going to be the name of the person you're meeting for the next interview, which will give you some hints on what to research next. So I think phone interview is crucial. It's very short, but and you have to be, yes, prepared for this as well. The next stage, if everything goes well with the phone interview, is the video interview. And video interview is most common, probably these days, type of the interview that is happening all the time. And probably I wouldn't say anything like super new or different here, but first point, to be punctual and have an appropriate appearance. Wearing pants, I know it may sound funny, but it's true. Sometimes, things happen, and if you just have prepared to look great on the top, but you have nothing on the bottom, that could be an embarrassing situation for you. So it's important to be prepared properly with the proper lighting, respecting the time, and of course, having your own notes. Having your own notes about yourself for you, because you may get a little bit nervous. You may get a little bit, intimidated maybe by some questions. So you can have something prepared in advance for you. So you could, just glance a little bit and get yourself more comfortable with answering questions, as well writing down some important key aspects that actually are important for you too. So having some notes, I think it's crucial for the video interview. And yeah, just to be fair, I wanted to share that I'm actually, also wearing pants in the interview. So just to be clear that this is a very, very important part. And for the in-person interview, that was very funny. When I was sharing this presentation with my colleagues, they said it's important to mention that in-person interview, you have to, it's actually a joke, that you also have to have a shower. So yeah. But most important, I think that in in-person interview, it's everything the same as for a video interview. You have to be prepared and on time. But I think for in-person interview, it's important to have prepared questions for the interviewer, and of course, be excited and motivated to go to that job interview. I think your engagement and your feeling about the company and job opportunity has to be translated in a very good and positive way. You have to leave the sense for the interviewer that you are actually the best candidate for this role. Even though you may have a little doubts that you're not sure, you have to leave a very good impression of yourself, so you would be then on the better side of negotiations in the future. But yeah, I'm curious here to ask if you feel there could be any other additional, like steps in the interviewing process. I mentioned, phone, video, in person. Am I missing anything? Okay, that's okay. So I just had this question, up in the air, but one more important part that I haven't mentioned before is the assessments. Assessments, and this is also part of interviewing process. It doesn't happen like in all the interviewing stages and not in all the positions all the time, but you may experience this part too. And this is normally a most probably nerve-wracking part where you are mostly very, very nervous and you want to succeed, of course. So just as an example, there are different assessments. There could be online tests. Normally, online tests are for your personality check, like your skills, general skills personality check, or there are like coding technical tests where company just wants to check your technical fit for the role because they cannot just rely on your answers. Then there are on-site tasks when you meet in person and you're not only talking, but you are giving some kind of a task to perform straight away and on-site. If you know that this is going to happen, it's very, very recommended to ask in advance how you can prepare for this. The best person to ask is the actually talent acquisition partner, is the recruiter, who can recommend what to look into before going into the task. Maybe you may receive some additional home, assignment questions that can help you prepare. And again, here you can use the ChatGPT to help you out and support if needed. And home assignments, yes, it's briefly related maybe with an on-site task, but usually these are assignments also asked by companies to do like in a week or in some period of time at home and present them when you meet or present them online. These are very, very common tasks that you may receive in the early career stages, because if you don't have quite a lot of extensive experience working in like various companies, This is the only way company actually can assess your skills and knowledge. And this is a great opportunity for you to show what you can do. So I would really recommend looking into this also always with priority. Yeah, so let's move to the next stage, and I called it answering all questions. So now we will dig deeper into what questions are normally asked during the interviews, what can you expect, and how could you answer them in the best way. So I wanted to start with the most common questions, and there are quite a lot of them actually, but I wanted to highlight maybe these 5 that actually look very familiar, because these are like, tell me about yourself question is extremely popular and normally is used as an icebreaker at the beginning of almost any interview. And actually at Nasdaq we're trying to avoid maybe asking this question very often, just specifically because we want to save the time, and if the candidate goes to like a 4th interview and telling about him or herself could be a bit exhausting, I must say. So tell me about yourself, I think, is the question that you can prepare easily in advance. And you have to make sure that you talk only, not about your full life story, but only about the relevant position-specific experience that is actually relevant to hear for the interviewer. Because during the interview, you want to make sure that the time that you have for the interview is used focused on your abilities and your fit for the role. So tell me about yourself. Yes, have to be very well thought through in advance. And of course, you have some experiences. Of course, you have some maybe interesting facts about yourself that you can put into that answer. Why do you want to work for this company? Also, extremely common question. That's where the research comes in help. Why are you leaving your current role? If you're already working somewhere and you're leaving, that's a very common question to ask as well. You never expected, I never recommend you to talk anything bad about the company that you're currently leaving. You only have to talk in the positive notes. Maybe it's a next step in your career. That's why you're deciding to look for other opportunities. Maybe, you're feeling that you need more challenges. Maybe you want to switch direction. Maybe you're just very excited about this new and excited role at this particular company. That's why you're leaving your current role, but never nothing bad about the current company. Doesn't matter what. What do you consider your greatest achievement? This is something as well you have to think always in advance, because it's a very common question you may ask, maybe asked. And what are your salary expectations again? Yes. You could be re-asked that question during, the process. Normally, that's the question where hiring manager can ask you as well, because that will be the person who will be deciding on what your salary eventually will be for this role. Any other questions that come into your mind that you maybe for those people who actually participated in the interviews, I'm curious, have you received these questions yourself? I see one question about the greatest achievement have to be related to the job. No, the greatest achievement, Daniel, doesn't have to be related to the job. The greatest achievement can be related to your studies. For example, it could be some group work that you worked on together. You had some project, and then you had to deliver on a specific deadline, and you maybe led that project and you led all the group participation together and you worked it out very, very great and you received a very good grade eventually. Maybe that is something that was published eventually at the university. You can think of any achievement that is, of course, related to that job, but it doesn't have to be necessarily from the job. I hope that answers your question. And then I wanted to jump into behavioral questions. Behavioral questions are normally happening at the later stages in the interviewing process. And normally what I feel that candidates feel mostly intimidated by these questions. And it is a shame that a lot of people are getting like stuck with some answers to the behavioral questions because they're not prepared enough. So my advice to you is all the time, try to write down your stories. So if you did something great, write it down straight away. Don't forget about it. Before the interview, just try to write down what actually have you achieved, what happened in your career, in your studies, in your any project work. Normally think about the projects. I think that helps a lot. And this story doesn't have to be always extremely successful, but it has to show that you've learned from it and that you gain some knowledge and experience. A good example is to think about the problem. It's a PAR abbreviation, so it's a problem, action, result. It's a very good suggestion just to think about what problem you had, what action did you actually take to solve that problem or to address that problem, and what was the result. The result normally have to be, yes, what you have learned, what you've taken from all of that situation, and where you are now as a person because of that story. So as an example, you may say that you were working on this project together, and there was one team member who was not actually delivering, was promising to deliver, but was not delivering anything to that project that you were a part of. Let's say you were preparing for the presentation, and the deadline was upcoming, and you didn't want to do everything by yourself. So maybe you reached out to that person, you've talked to that person, and you asked, why are you not, providing your slides and your input for the presentation? Maybe you found out that that person is not feeling very, confident about doing the slides. So you suggested that you do the slides, but that person actually delivers the speech and delivers the presentation. So with your effort, you resolved this conflict, and eventually you delivered the presentation, but divided the work accordingly based on your strengths, actually, what you can do the best. And you maybe ended up with a very good grade eventually with your effort to address the problem. So that's one of the examples. And you always have to write everything down for now, just to make sure that you are prepared. And I really wanted to share with you some important power phrases, as I call them, power phrases, because every company, if you are going to go for an interview for an international organization, every company as a corporation, it's just because I'm working at NASDAQ and before I had also experiences at international companies, they're all looking for these keywords that I've highlighted: responsibility, collaboration, initiative, resolving situations, and what is actually a measurable result. So I actually suggest you can do a screenshot maybe of these power phrases or write this down. It's very powerful if you would start talking about, your responsibilities at your previous job or at your experiences maybe at university in some courses, and you will start using the word actually responsibility. My responsibility was, for example, leading the group, or my responsibility was dealing with data sets, with the very particular information, because I am so good at actually time managing everything and managing all the details and making sure that everything is recorded. So this shows, some of your skills already. In my last job, I collaborated with the group of maybe 5 people, or I collaborated with other teams of maybe analysts, maybe some other type of specialists to accomplish some specific project. Word collaboration is actually the similar word to teamwork, but the teamwork, it's just outdated word, I would say. Collaboration, I think it's something more new and attractive. The initiative, also extremely important, especially in the bigger corporations. I think initiative, I'm talking from my own experience, initiative is really, really, really appreciated. And if you share that you are taking initiative without somebody actually asking you to do it, but you think of some idea to do something and you do it, that's amazing. And if you have these examples that you took an initiative, maybe to, I don't know, simply collecting all the birthdays of the group and creating a birthday calendar and celebrating birthdays in a group because you thought that this brings the team engagement up, that's a very great initiative that you can share. And of course, you can take it deeper to a more like a job-specific level. Resolving the situations. So the fourth power phrase is when, to give you an example, when, for example, the conflict happened, I resolved the situation by, let's say, reaching out to that person and providing a feedback. Resolving some specific situations and showing that you are not afraid to come and talk to people, that you are actually very open, transparent, and collaborative in a sense, that is really, really helpful for the interviewer to know. And this could really show you as mature professional, I would say, in that sense. So you should really think about these type of stories you may have to tell. And the measurable results of your efforts is always also very important. And the measurable results could be anything. It could be, that you did a specific amount of projects on that time just because you were very organized, for example. Anything that you can measurably show to the interviewer that you did is really, really appreciated as well. Let me see if there are any more questions. Sorry, just with sharing the screen, it's a little bit harder for me to come to the chat section, but I'm here. Okay, let me check. How could we respond to the expected salary? Yes, so responding to the expected salary, as I mentioned, is you have to be prepared in advance. And I would say the best way is to provide the range where you feel comfortable with. For example, I'm okay, and think about the gross salary with the taxes altogether. normally now all the companies are asking for the amount that you are expecting to get with the tax, like gross taxes included, just because now that's how now companies are operating. So I would recommend to check that. If in Lithuania, usually I'm using tax.lt site just to check how much it is before taxes and after taxes. So you would definitely feel that you're comfortable with the amount, and prepare a salary range for yourself. And you can, yes, share the range with the recruiter easily. And you can also ask, does it feel right for this role or no? Then I have a question from Suna. If you're not asked about the expected salary, when should you bring that topic up yourself? A very good question, Suna. And I must say that I haven't experienced too much that, because I always ask the salary expectations of candidates, because I think it's a most important question, one of the most important questions to know, because that's where you align your your expectations and values as well. So in my experience, I think if the interviewer is not bringing up that question in the beginning of the interview, it's totally fine for you to bring that up. And whatever makes you feel more comfortable, you can bring that up via email, or you can bring that up via conversation. I would just recommend maybe talking via conversation first, just because you can feel the tone of the interview a little bit better. And maybe they will even explain why they didn't ask you about your salary expectation at the very beginning of the interview. Maybe there is a reason for that, and it's totally fine. You can bring it up in the conversation. You can write an email, and there is no like a particular rule. Just be, of course, polite about that. You can ask yourself what is the range actually of the suggested salary for this role. Asking is absolutely fine as well, especially in Lithuania, when all the roles are now supposed to have salary ranges. So I hope this answers your question. You're very welcome. And and that's it, I think. Yes, this is not a question. Okay, I see a question from Sindra. What do you suggest for applying for job tips, especially at NASDAQ? Yes, very good question, Sindra. Thank you for asking. And I think it depends on the position as well, but when applying, I definitely recommend not to apply to like 10 different positions at the same time, because it just shows that you are not really sure what your focus is and what you're interested in. I would recommend start applying with one and maximum two different positions if you feel like applying. And if you, for example, don't hear from the company for sometimes we do receive for some roles really a huge amount of requisitions of applications. So my recommendation is to try and reach out on LinkedIn, for example, to a recruiter. It's absolutely fine to write a short message saying, I did apply for this position. Would you give me a short update about my application? Oh, yes, Sidra, I see you're raising the hand.
Thank you. It's pleasure meeting you. As at NASDAQ, I mean, for human resource field, it's really hard to find job because there is a lot of competition. So my question is that how do you proceed with the, having the job applications? Like I have heard that from the very early hour, who applies like early, or it like you deal with the application on first come first serve basis. So how this process goes on. I mean, the position is open for a month and over a month, and I don't know how the process, goes by. Do you start shortlisting right after advertising the position, or that you also consider references, or do you consider headhunting, or Nasdaq is only cater application through their own job portal, or they also look for the job application through LinkedIn or any other like CV Banka, sorry, CV online websites. I mean, what is the basically main process for
Thank you.
any job application? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sidra. Yes, very good question. And we receive applications from all the portals. So it doesn't matter you apply on the LinkedIn, on CV Online. We do have positions open and working within your website. So if you see a position there in one of these websites and you will apply, we will eventually get it in one system anyway. So you don't have to apply through all of these websites to that particular role. One place is totally fine enough. We do appreciate referrals. If somebody, of course, refers from our internal employees a candidate, of course, it's one of our policies as well to make sure that we look into that referral straight away out of respect, and to the candidate and to an employee who referred that person. And we do screen all the applications, as you say, on the first come, first served basis normally. And we are actually looking into maybe changing this a little bit, but when the position is open, we start screening candidates straight away. And the process is always ongoing. That's why we are saying if you see a job posting, we recommend to apply as soon as possible, because if the process is already in the final interview stages, we may not consider new applicants anymore before we finish with the final stages. But we still do have the role open to get the flow in case somebody rejects or something happens in the process and we will need to restart the recruitment process. That's why here I really recommend, if you apply to NASDAQ and in, let's say, a couple of weeks, normally we give ourselves a couple of weeks to reach out to everybody. If in a couple of weeks you feel like you haven't received any feedback or information, it's really good to reach out to a recruiter on a LinkedIn. And now actually you have me here, so you can reach out to me on the LinkedIn, because I have an overview of all the requisitions and I can direct you directly to a recruiter who actually is working with that position. So feel free to do that and I will help you out, because things sometimes happen. I cannot offer all the recruitment team, but I am here to represent recruitment team. And sometimes, yes, when we receive a very numerous load of applications, it's very difficult to respond to everyone straight away. But if you reach out directly, we will, for sure. It will be much easier for us to see your application. Yes, so hope I answered your question. Great, thank you. And then, let me see if I haven't missed anything else. I have a question about what are likely questions to expect from an interview session in a school setting, primary school, with teaching positions. Good question. As I'm not from that area of expertise, it would be difficult for me actually to comment on this. But are you meaning, sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but I see Mary, so I'll say Mary. Are you meaning that you're going into interviews in the primary school at the moment, right? And you may receive some teaching position questions, yes? I would definitely recommend, actually empowering ChatGPT here and checking what possible questions you may receive. Since I'm not from that area, I don't want to maybe guide you wrongly towards that direction, but I think ChatGPT definitely could help you. If you would type the position name and what stage of the interviews you're going, you can definitely, I think, receive very good suggestions on how to prepare for those interviews. Another tip, I would say also before going to the interview, you can actually ask the inviter who invites you to that interview, you can actually ask what you expect. You can actually ask them, and it's totally fine. It's even very respected if you ask the future interviewer what you expect in the position, because then they feel that you're actually very serious about the position, that you're interested in that position. So you can ask, you can reach out. I hope this helps you. And then I have a question about references, recommendations from previous employers. Yes, references and recommendations. Again, very good questions. Very good question about recommendations. I would say.
I wanted to ask if when are we going to have the internship? Like,
You mean internship at NASDAQ?
yes. When are they gonna have the internship?
Sorry, I will just finish with that previous question and then I will answer the internship question. So in regards to references, it is not actually required to bring it to the interviews or to share them straight away. But because normally references, it's a name and maybe a phone number of the person that the company can call. So it's not a requirement. But if you have some good references, recommendations, let's say on your LinkedIn profile that are visible, that is really, really great. Every recruiter can see that straight away. I think these days that is one of the key moments. I would recommend if you have somebody who is actually valuing you as a colleague, as an employee, ask them straight away to provide you a recommendation on your LinkedIn profile, and definitely create a LinkedIn profile. This really, really helps because then you see that it's not fake, that is actually real, that is in the system. You can even check who that person is who is recommending you. That's really, really helpful. And if eventually you need those recommendations, you can just extract them and bring them to the interview. It's not a requirement. I don't think that you have to bring it up straight away, but if you feel that it brings value to that position that you're going to, then it's definitely a benefit to have recommendations, yes. And then about the interviews, sorry. And then about the internships at NASDAQ. So internships are happening every summer. And this year we had them posted in end of February, mid-March, I think. The application process is unfortunately already over this year, but it will be open again next year. It always opens at the end of the year. We have some kind of at NASDAQ information circling around. And I think next year it's also the target that we will open applications in February, probably beginning of the February. So please watch out for that time frame. And internships also are for only the students at that time at the university. So I think
What is the essence of this class? Because I thought it's for the preparation of the internship. Because when I registered for these lessons, I thought it was for the internship. That means I am late for the internship program or what?
I'm sorry, I think I'm not the one to answer this question. This is the session for the job interview preparation. Maybe I would suggest then reaching out to Lina Autorite or to Justina then maybe, who can help you out with this. And let me then quickly maybe finish with my slides, because I think we're a little bit over time. I wanted to leave some time more for the questions, but after all of this, I have some suggestions for you of materials what you can look into to prepare a little bit more at home as well. So what's next? Actually, I've been checking for some social media profiles that will help you out, and I found out these two that actually I followed myself, and I really enjoy all the tips that they're providing in order to prepare for the job interview, what questions to ask, what questions to prepare yourself. And I really, really recommend just to check these two out. I think the Self-Made Millennial profile is on a YouTube, and Advice with Erin is more of a TikTok profile, but they definitely give very good tips that can help you out. And finishing it, I wanted to invite you all actually to check the careers at NASDAQ. Maybe you will find some positions that you're interested in. We do have various levels of roles, and also if you will not find anything that you're interested in at the moment, you can scan the QR code that you see in the corner with the invitation to sign up for our newsletter. So with our newsletters, usually we invite people to join different events, different career events. We do share also roles that may be relevant to your profile. So I really encourage you to scan that code and see if that would be an interest for you to register. And yes, and thank you so much for listening. Let me see if there are any more questions that I can answer you at the moment. My LinkedIn profile. Yes, you can actually find me by my name and surname. Mm-hmm. And I think I had it on the beginning of my slides as well. Let me just move it. Yeah. Yes, and I'm open now for any questions, if anyone may have any questions.
Can I ask a question then?
Of course.
Actually, quite recently, like 2 weeks ago, I guess, I had a job interview. I'm currently in Vilnius, but the interview was in a with a company which is located in Tallinn, Estonia. And actually, I also had like several steps with them. I applied for the job, and even the job application required some specific questions. And I passed the case study. I passed the HR interview. And I was at the end. I had an interview with two managers of the position, and actually, the job was matching quite well with my profile, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. But unfortunately, I received an email which said, I'm literally reading it right now. They said like they carefully reviewed my skills and qualifications, and they are really impressed by it. But unfortunately, they are not able to provide relocation assistance for this particular position. But they knew that I was living in Vilnius since the first interview, and I don't know. Since I received this email, I got really confused, and I couldn't even say, "Okay, thank you for the interview." You know, I couldn't even reply for it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It is a tough situation here, and what you can do, actually, my recommendation is to maybe ask. Would you actually consider yourself moving to Estonia?
Yes, I was quite, because next semester my classes will be fully online, so I was really okay and ready. And I'm a master's degree student, by the way. So I even have some experience. I was fine with everything.
Yeah, so I would actually, in your case, I would definitely respond saying, well, politely, like, thank you so much for providing this feedback. You can say that I am a little bit confused about the relocation because, just so you know, I'm very interested in the role and I'm fine to relocate to that location myself if you would be like seriously considering me for an offer. To providing me an offer. It's absolutely fine to write that and to check, you know, if that's actually because of the relocation, because maybe there was miscommunication. Maybe they just didn't realize, you know, that you are okay and willing to move to that location yourself. And maybe that will bring up following up conversation. Maybe there is some more feedback to it.
Okay,
So that's okay to check.
Okay, thank you. And do you think is it like maybe it's also too late to reply because it's been like 2 weeks already?
No, it's not too late. No, don't worry. Don't worry. It's absolutely fine. You know, if it's been like 2 months, maybe yes, but in 2 weeks, it's totally fine because you still need to know the answer for yourself to feel confident that actually you did have skills for the role. Because maybe they will give you a little bit more detailed feedback and that will help you in your future searches.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Any other questions that I may be of a help? I will try also just to move to the latest slide in case you didn't have time to scan the QR code. We'll leave it here. Was this session helpful for you?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And oh, I see there is a hand raise. Thank you so much for the reactions. Yeah, I must say it is my favorite part of the whole recruitment process. And I'm really happy that you also enjoyed it. And if anyone has any questions, as I said, you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn, write me a message. Would be great when you are making a connection or something that you would write me exactly that we've met on the Vilnius University workshop, so I would know where you're from. And so, yeah, hope to connecting with you guys.
And I would add that I also mentioned in the comments, if you have any questions related to study process or internship or career consultation in Vilnius University, there are links for you to look up and register for consultation. I saw how many likes you posted here, so I hope the whole presentation was very interesting and motivating you to maybe pursue some careers. And also thank you, Greta, for this presentation, for this hour with us and with our students. And I hope we will reach out to you also someday soon, maybe. Okay, thank you. And thank you for everyone who was participating. Till next opportunities to meeting you.
Thank you
very much. Have a good day.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.